Hey everyone, it's Liz. I'm going to talk about condemnation of yourself and others. I know I've talked about this before with other videos and with my clients in person. And the last video, I believe, is going to be my talk about, at least not talking about condemning yourself and saying bad things about yourself. In this video, I want to focus more about condemning others with your speech, whether you're saying it to them live or keeping it in your thoughts. I remember talking to a soldier a long time ago about his behavior and conduct, and he said, well, at least I'm just thinking it. And I didn't tell him at the time because he was trying to just not hit people and drink too much and stab at people with broken beer bottles and stuff. So he wasn't really ready to hear, yeah, actually, your inner speech is important too. But, we do what we can. But it is really important if you want to craft a beautiful reality around yourself. If you want to be God of your reality, it's very important to watch your condemnation of yourself and others, if for no other reason, even if you don't care about the other people. I mean, I think it's good to care. I think it's good to be a nice person, but even if you don't care and you want to have a beautiful reality around yourself, whether you believe me or not, this is a truth. Neville Goddard would say, and I've said this before, that your physical reality is speech solidified. Your physical reality is speech solidified. So this includes your inner speech, your inner conversation. If you spend your time crabbing about someone, being mad at someone, listen, I have been there with the best of you. It gets very delicious. Sometimes it's really funny to make fun of yourself or others. That self-deprecatory humor and teasing others. And I'm in there with you. I do it all the time, and I have to watch myself as well. Believe me, I am by all means not coming from my holy huddle or anything like that as I speak to you today. Now, what I want to tell you is that your inner speech, whether the person you're angry at, resentful of, afraid of, wondering about, if you're having negative thoughts about someone else and having negative inner speech, like, oh, I hate them, I can't stand them, or if you're even feeling really sad on their behalf for their illness or the death or the bankruptcy or the betrayal, even that stuff, it affects them subconsciously. Now, people who do dark occult work and things like voodoo and also the cabal that does dark work, they know this. They do this on purpose. They do this with symbolism, marketing, messages, subliminals. I mean, that's still going on. People are doing it all the time. Corporations, they know this, people, and they're doing this against us all the time. If you just simply look at ads in television and media, all the programming, and say you don't consent, it won't get to you. If you understand and say, I don't consent. But anyway, back to the topic. But if you don't know that this happens, you should just know. You should know you're going to affect other people subconsciously. They may not consciously realize it. Okay. But they will at a subconscious level, and you'll see a change in the relationship. But also negative speech and talk and crabbing, complaining, whining and moaning, being angry with and resentful of, or even your own guilt and shame, whatever. We're talking about others today, but all of it, that actually reflects back on you as well. So the more you whine, moan, and complain about life, the more you whine, moan, and complain and have that kind of life around you, and you have more things to whine, moan, and complain about. All right. So it's, and if you want to continue it, it's up to you. You're the boss. I'm just saying it is vitally important that if you want to craft a beautiful reality, again, for no other reason than to be God of your reality and have what you want in life, it is very good to get to the point where you can do an audit of all the people in your life and remove all negative emotions around them and just being able to send everyone goodwill. We're going to talk about this. So let's talk about the sad stuff too. A lot of times we gossip like, oh my gosh, did you hear about her? She's got the cancer. She's got the this, she's got the that. Oh my gosh, she doesn't have much to live. Oh, I feel so sorry for her and that family. Oh my God, did you hear about that? Oh, she left him. Oh, do you know he lost his business? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, they lost all their money. They lost their home. They're homeless. They're one of them homeless camps now. All that stuff, even said about another, even if in terms of just gossip, or even if you think you're being sympathetic or even empathetic, it doesn't help them and it doesn't help you. Now, we find ourselves in these groups of people having this gossip and these phone conversations. And like I said in the last video, I invite you to just go neutral in your own mind. You don't have to scold or lecture anyone, but get neutral or in your own mind and just say, I don't consent to this conversation while you go neutral. And then when you can leave the conversation, you can send the person good wishes. We talked about that in another video where you can just send them good wishes. We're going to review that at the end of this video. But I will tell you, at some level, folks, they will hear and feel your reality. So do you want that? If you do, then jump in and play it by all means. If you want to cause them harm or upset, or if you want to change their relationship with you, because it will change the relationship with you, that's fine. But you just be aware of it. Be aware of what you're doing. They may not want to reach out. They may not want to have a relationship with you. They may change how they feel about you. Okay. But if it's not what you're looking for, it's time to clean that all up. And I'm not here to say that you can't feel your feels. If you have a reason to grieve, have a reason to feel shame, resentment, anger, all those lower emotional scale emotions. If you want to grieve, grieve. If you need to be mad, be mad. It's when we live here month after month and year after year telling every therapist our very sad story. It's very interesting for me to work with clients because I coach. I don't counsel that much anymore, but people want to tell me their very sad story all the time. And I have to remind them, do you want to live in the past and create more of that, or do you want to move forward? This is where I say, let's stop the very bad, sad story. What do you want to create right now? All right. If you really want to create something beautiful in your life, holding on to those angry thoughts does not help your manifestation. Like I've said for the third time now, you're here anyway. You may as well be great. If only for to develop a life that you really want, you may as well be nice in your thoughts about others. It is very useful to lose your condemnation of others. I don't know if I've convinced you, but and if you really just want to be mad and grumpy, by all means. But let's talk about how to do this. So, as I tell this to people, I know some of my clients, they say, "Oh, I just can't. I can never forgive him for that thing. I never could." Like, well, that's a belief system that you have that you never could. But I invite you to consider in your own quiet time, think, well, maybe I'm thinking about maybe considering forgiving that person. Or maybe I'm thinking about considering forgiving myself for that thing. You can start talking to yourself that way as the ability to forgive moves closer and closer to you. One thing you can do is set a time boundary. So I recently had to last year I had to kick out an icky person from my house. He really had to go. It was pretty awful. I was really furious and I kicked him out and I allowed myself to be mad for 3 days. I allowed it for 3 days. I was just like, oh my gosh. Ah. And then after 3 days, I said, okay, wipe, pulled my big girl overalls on and I decided to just send him good wishes, or at least some neutral wishes. Like one thing I say when I'm just freshly not mad at anybody anymore, I'll say, he's just perfectly himself, or she's just perfectly herself. And I'm good with that. That's a very neutral statement where I'm like just accepting them for the shitty person they are. And then I get to be more positive about it. But at first, he's just perfectly himself. Yeah, that's just him. All right. Whew. I set a time boundaries. That's one thing you can do with your feelings is just set yourself a boundary of your feels. Feel your feels for that amount of time. And you'll pick, maybe it's 2 hours, maybe it's 3 days. Who knows? So when you feel ready, you can actually do an audit of all your people. You can simply ask yourself in a quiet time with yourself, like, how do I feel about everybody? Is there anyone I'm still mad at? Is there anyone I feel sad about? Is there anyone I'm regretting? I'm upset with? I'm lacking forgiveness for? I'm resenting? I'm feeling shameful about? What is it? And as the people come up in your mind, here's some things you can do. Again, you can set a time boundary for how long you're going to feel those feels, right? And you can choose to stay in those feelings. You can choose to stay mad or resentful or embarrassed or ashamed or whatever you feel. And like I said, if you feel like you can't forgive someone right now, you can begin to start saying that. You can begin to start saying something to yourself. Like, I think I'll begin to think about maybe forgiving that person as you bring the ability closer and closer. All right. Another thing you can do is there's that famous Ho'oponopono prayer, which is 4 things. It's essentially where when your person comes to mind, you simply say, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. And you could just simply say that to the person. When you can say that about this other person, again, in your mind, not to their face, but in your own mind, in your own mental space, then you're really clearing out the stuff between you and that person. There's another thing you could do, which is the Buddhist metta meditation, which is the loving kindness meditation, where you can say things like, may you be safe, happy, and healthy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May all beings be peaceful and filled with joy. May this person be peaceful and filled with joy. It does improve your social relationships. And the idea is you do it for your, I forget the order. You do it for yourself, you do it for people you love, and you do it for people you hate. And it really begins to clean up those emotions. Neville Goddard has a technique where he imagines, he says, can you, in your mind's eye, put your hand on that person's shoulder energetically in your mental space and say something like, I'm so glad you're so happy and doing so well. Right? If you can do that, the stuff between you is pretty clear. And in fact, if you can even get to the place, as I described in my other video, showing kindness to others or manifesting for others, where you can actually manifest their best life for them. Not their best life is in terms of how you see it, what you think is right for them, but what's really in God's eyes, in Source's eyes, what's right for them. Wishing them the best in Source's eyes, and then manifesting it for them. You'll find that you manifest for others much more easily than for yourself sometimes, because like I said in the other video, you're detached. So I had an incident this morning, a situation. My daughter and family are in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they were going to come back through my town and see me on their way north. And I was thinking this morning, that's silly. They're going to waste like 5 hours doing that. They're doing the two sides of the triangle when they could just be doing the hypotenuse drive. And I just said, they shouldn't do that. They should just drive straight through. I mean, I'd love to see them, but it's going to add 5 hours to their trip, or 4 hours. Well, sure enough, an hour later, I get a text from her like, hey, Mom, we realize it's only 10 hours to home. We're just going to drive straight through. And so you see what happened there? I figured what the best thing for them was. I'm not saying I manifested it, but perhaps I was part of that. And maybe I did. But you can begin to bless others that way, where they're making it better. Having 15-month-old twins screaming and yelling in the back seat of the car, that's better to have a shorter drive, isn't it? Rather than seeing grandma for, an hour. So you can do things like that for others if you can get to that place. And then you can occasionally do that audit with yourself. Who are you mad at? Who are you ashamed about? Who, whatever. And again, you can do all this inside your mind without even saying a word to them or sending them a letter at all or asking for forgiveness at all. I'm not saying that maybe at some point, if you feel so led, that actually talking to a living person is important, or a person who's even passed on. But in this case, this exercise is all you in your own mind, in your own imagination. And I wanted to offer this to you, perhaps remind you of this if you already know it. I feel a lot of you watching my videos already are aware of these techniques and things, but it's just nice to be reminded. Again, I'm just dropping seeds here. You can practice and do this just in your mind, and you'll see the change in your relationships. I've talked about making, revising history. This is all of a piece, right? You can do this with your people. And when you can actually go down all the people you know, and you feel good about everybody, you can watch how you become the God of your reality and how you can begin to create a beautiful life for yourself. Like I said, if for nothing else, for your own manifestation, it's really good to clean all that up. Anyway, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.